All right, so we are here with Senraven. Senraven, say hello.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And Mr. Free to Play MSF.
Hi guys, welcome back.
And we got another great episode for you today, guys. Today we are breaking down the top 5 teams most worth your resources and top 5 teams least worth your resources, or bottom 5 teams. Depends on how you want to look at it. And as per usual, Mr. Free to Play MSF has actually put together a list of these for us all, and Sunraven has some thoughts too. So we're gonna go over this and see how it looks from the different points of view of the game. So I guess we should start with this, Mr. Free to Play MSF. Who do you have as the best team for resources?
Number one on my list is Asgardians. Hands down, I couldn't rank anyone higher than them.
Yeah, that is a definitely reasonable answer. Uh, Senraven, would you have agreed with that as the top choice?
That's really hard to argue against. I don't think I can. I think that's pretty spot on. They're great for pretty much every mode in the game right now. I mean, you can take them out in war defense, but it might take a little bit of work. Or if you get lucky, you should be okay. But still, they work great in all modes, and a couple of the characters are plugins for top of the stuff that you need to do.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't argue against this as the top. Maybe I could at most pull off an argument to make it now like second, but I think we got a really good pick here. Mr. Free to Play, why did you select as Guardians? After all, you did select it.
Overall, they're a great, solid team. They're all easy to get, even as a free to play. You do have to do some work to get to them, but even anyone can get to them. They're farmable. So also, Loki and Hela team up to get two different legendaries. So that's a huge plus. And like I said, they're great on Blitz, great in more. So many game modes they're great in.
Yeah, that is 100% fair and really hard to argue against because they are just really good at everything and they get you 2 legendaries. But not only 2 legendaries, 2 really good legendaries. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I would definitely I think that's a great answer. Um
Yeah. On a side note, I have a little baby account that got started up probably 3-4 months ago at this point, and currently it's hitting like top 50 in arena. Sorry, top 150, not 50. Around 100 to 150. Almost every single team that I'm facing is full as Guardian teams, so they are fairly easy to farm. This is I just hit level 67 on that account, so it's not very powerful or anything. That whole team is not that difficult to get.
yeah, that's I would consider that a huge benefit for the team. I mean,
Absolutely.
I guess some people would say that if they're too easy to get, you could make the argument that makes it less worth the resources because it's better to spend your resources on like exclusive teams. But for me, I'd say if you can get that team fully up to 7 stars through just constant work, it's a lot better than teams that you can't do that for. So I think that's
Yeah,
a
completely agree.
absolutely great choice. And now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Mr. Free to Play MSF, what did you put down as the team worth the least of your resources?
Hands down, now this team is not complete yet in the game, but hands down, do not spend a single thing into them. Ravengers.
The moment you started talking, I was already scrolling down to them.
I was waiting. I was going. He's either going to say hand or Ravagers. Oh, it's Ravagers.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Why did you say them though?
You're talking to me?
Yeah,
I said them just because they're not needed for anything, and I mean absolutely nothing in this game. Now, Hand, which was brought up by Sen Raven, I actually did not rank in the top 5 least, nor are they in the top 5 most important. But because they're used for a relic hunt, your resources really are not wasted. They're wasted if you spend them too early, but ultimately, sooner or later, you're going to want to max out the relic hunt anyways. But yeah, not needed for anything. Yondu has done past his prime, so until something gets done with this team, absolutely nothing.
The one use they do have is Star-Lord, but you can also just
that's
use
what I was
Guardians.
going to mention.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask what's your fourth least useful team. They might be higher up. Ravagers might be higher than that, just because you can use them to unlock Star-Lord early on. So for a new account, Yandu being so easy to farm is a great boost for going through the villain campaign and just being able to get in and get Star-Lord, because you don't need to 3-star the event. You just need to beat whatever node you're on, and you can do that with a level 1 Boomer and a level 765 Yandu to help bring the power.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But that both makes it like, okay, yeah, that's actually a bit of a reason to spend resources on them. But then it's like, but you can also just do this with a level 1 Boomer. So
Yeah,
I guess the only resources you really need are the gold to unlock the star ranks.
yeah, they're a decent fill-in for when you need that extra body to get into to take Star-Lord to get Star-Lord into on your account.
I'm just realizing I have 5 red stars on every single one of them.
Well, can't wait for that rework, huh?
Apparently. Apparently. But yeah, I'd say that is a very solid choice. It's hard to really argue about both Asgard and Ravagers as best and worst. Yeah, I can't really give a point why not. So I think this list is turning out really good here, Mr. Free to Play. So on that, let's move back to the positive end. What do you got as the second best team to spend your resources on?
All right, now, first off, this list was not easy to make. The best and the least were obvious to me. Outside this, it gets really muddy. But number 2 is Inhumans. Main reason why I ranked them that high is because all around they are a really great team, kind of in the meta. Black Bolt is super OP. Team with Yo-Yo makes it even more OP. And they're needed for Ebony Maw, which he's turned out to be a really great character.
Yeah, he's a great addition. If you can get him for Dark Dimension 3, he does a lot of work. They're definitely a solid team. I'm mostly curious as to what your third and fourth are, considering they're like Yo-Yo is super hard to get because she's premium orb only. So that kind of dips him a little bit in my book. Also, Karnak is fairly terrible. Quake is okay. Crystal's actually pretty good. A high power Crystal does a lot of work, and I've seen them on arena defense teams and a few other places where they get some really good use out of Crystal at like 5-6 red star. If you got 7, then you're set. But she does need that power. So you got three really good characters on the team, but one is nearly impossible to get because she's premium orb only.
Right. And Sunraven, this one is more addressed to you as Mr. Free to Play would not have a legitimate answer on this. But if you were to spend money right now on any one character, would it be Yo-Yo?
Yeah. Minerva is still up there as the really good option. But between those two, that's the two characters that if they show up in the store, I'm likely spending money on it. Mr. Sinus is a great character. I need about 100 shards. Well, he's supposed to be farmable now, which is great, but that's War Store, and that's a different problem.
Right.
He was in the store a week ago. There was an offer for him, and it would give me a 7 red star. Sorry, not 7 red star. It would give me a 7-star Mr. Sinister. There was no point of doing it. If it was Yo-Yo, I would have spent the money.
Fair enough. I know Yo-Yo is a temptation to a lot of people. That's actually a fair point. Mr. Free-to-Play, would you consider Yo-Yo one of the stronger temptations to break the free-to-play pledge?
For me, currently, no, because I'm already able to do everything in the game without her, so it wouldn't incentivize me to spend. It would have to be something that would help me get to the next level or do something that I'm currently already working towards, and Yo-Yo's not that.
Fair enough. All right, so I think that's a pretty good pick. I don't think it would have been the one that would have kind of come to my mind first, but it's really a hard one to argue against because there's a lot of uses for that, and I think it's a good choice. So from there, what do we got as the second bottom, Mr. Free to Play?
Any version of an Avengers team is a no-no.
Any version of an Avengers team. All right, well, that definitely opens up the conversation. Why do you say any version of an Avengers team?
They all need reworks to be viable again. I don't really see any of them in any type of game modes as a team. And I know they're a fan favorite, but I just don't see the use in them.
Right. Sunraven, initial response to that statement?
I would probably put him number 5 because Ravages you can use for Star-Lord.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So, just to clarify, we're not considering the fact that Power Armor has quite a few Avengers as an Avenger-type team. You're just meaning, like, teams that are... Or the fact that Fury and Coulson are Avengers, that's not an Avenger team. Just, like, teams that are just strictly Avengers characters without a bunch of outside characters. Is that what we're going for here, Mr. Free-to-Play?
You're going towards... Because obviously if you can build an Avengers team with Power Armor, then it's considered Power Armor, not Avengers... and stuff like that. I'm just talking about generically putting together a team of Hawk, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, like an Avengers type team like you see in the movies.
Right. So you're winding up with Ant-Man, Wasp, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Captain America. That's basically the team that you're looking at as the Avengers team.
Yeah, that kind of sort.
Okay. Just important thing to kind of clarify for people, as for instance Thor's on the Avengers, so he's worth resources. Like there's a few characters here and there, and then you could technically put a team of like Falcon, War Machine, Iron Man, Vision, and I don't know, Ant-Man.
Sure, but then you actually have characters in there that are worth leveling because you have Vision and Falcon.
Right. So
but they have their own teams.
Yeah, that's 100% fair. The one thing that I would say is, as of right now, 100%, any use on the Avengers isn't worth it anymore. Go back like a year, maybe. Right now, definitely there's nothing there. But there are characters here that are just such big names that you have to feel there's going to be reworks coming. Like we already know that there's Red Guardian coming to the game for the Black Widow movie. So perhaps some rework there. I've been pushing for Peggy Carter to come to the game and get like a Howling Commandos with Captain America.
That would be great.
Yeah, that just sounds fun to me. But perhaps that could be a possibility. What do you think if that starts happening, Mr. Free-to-Play? Would you feel like the resources were well spent, or if it's still just better just to wait until we know for sure?
I'd say better to wait until you know for sure, but obviously, to me, I still, like in my head right now, I'm quickly trying to think how many of these characters go towards other game modes, how many legendaries, and I'm really drawing a blank, to be honest. So I still, even with reworks, late game, maybe early and mid, I'm still not seeing a use.
Would it help if I just listed all the characters, or do you have them in front of you?
No, listen, I do not have them in front of me.
Okay, I can list it. So all the people with the Avenger tag in the game are Black Panther, Agent Coulson, Thor, Nick Fury, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, War Machine, Captain America, Ant-Man, Vision, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk, Hawkeye.
Oh,
okay,
Wasp
now
is
there
actually
is some
not on the list?
Wasp is not on the list.
Wow, I forgot that she doesn't have the Avengers tag.
Now, there is some characters on that list that, yes, you want to rank up, and actually they're going to be featured in this list elsewhere. But traditional Avengers team, to me, sometimes does not include characters like Black Panther, Coulson, and Fury. Like, they're going to be placed elsewhere in the game, in my opinion. But, yeah, there is some use in some of those characters, but as a generic team, I don't think so if you're trying to run just an Avengers team.
Yeah, so like I said before, anybody that winds up on a different team doesn't count as an Avengers team because they have better places like Vision, Falcon, Coulson, Fury. They have their own teams to go to, but the leftovers become Hulk, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and a fifth or Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Those guys don't have anywhere to go. That becomes your default Blitz Avengers team. And yeah, I have to agree with you. They're really bottom of the roster. I would probably actually put them on the bottom, like I said, because you can use Ravagers to unlock Star-Lord.
Yeah, those are the ones that you just listed are really the only 5 that don't have a true other home. Now, I've used Black Widow as my little hold me over in the Inhumans until you get Black Bolt, but at the same point, you could definitely find other characters to do that. So yeah, it's really a hard thing to argue. Just wanted to really get it across that it's not that all the characters are bad. It's just an Avengers team is not great for the resources now. So yeah, I think you've got a pretty good list going so far. But let's see if we keep this up. What do we got as the 3rd best team, Mr. Free to Play?
Now this team can be built several different ways, but our number 3 team to me is Shield. They're a great team to get. They'll carry you through U6. They'll carry you through all the Greek raids. They're useful in all of them. They can do level 4. They're doing it for me. So that's where I place them.
All right. Sunraven, initial thought on that?
Yeah, this is where I have to kind of move away from this, because this team has completely fallen off for me in the last 3-4 months, to the point that they can't even win. Are we talking Shield with Fury and Coulson, or are we talking, what kind of Shield team are we talking?
No Coulson. We're talking about a raid version. So it'd be Fury, Medic, Assault, Security, and Trooper or Operative, which one you wanted to use. No Coulson.
Okay. So I can see where you're going with this. It was a team that I was using for Greek raids for a little while. It was a team that I was using other places. They've definitely fallen off for me. I moved them out of, tier 8 in blitzes. I moved them down the list because they just can't seem to win. In blitz, I do have them with Coulson. In raids, I swapped out, and I'm using, for Greek raid, I'm using Fury, Coulson, Medic, and then Shuri. Like, depends on where on the Greek raid I am. Like, Shuri comes in for healing, or I'm using them with Quake and Yo-Yo. They're not as useful as they used to be. I don't think they hold up in power as much as they did. And my account, when I started it specifically going for the Shield minions to get Nick Fury. That was the main goal at the beginning of this account, and that kept me going through Brotherhood, through a whole bunch of stuff, and kept me in top 10 arena for probably 9 months, if not more. So I've used that team a lot, but for me now, they've definitely not in that top 5.
Oh, so there's the biggest diversion. I have a comment I got on a video of mine a few days ago, which is really relevant to this team in particular. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on it once I find that. All right, it was a comment I did on characters that hold their value well. That was the video, and someone commented, Wolf St. Fox commented, factions like X-Men, S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, and AIM will, I think, hold well over time simply because they will eventually gain new members. We've seen a bunch of times one new tune on a team can completely rework it, so it's pretty safe to assume these teams will at some point gain more value, even if it's years down the road. Mr. Free to Play, what do you think about that?
It's a fair assessment, but if we're just talking about spending your resources now, it's a tough one. Now, Sunraven's correct. S.H.I.E.L.D. has fallen off. The power creep has passed them. But from my point of view, they are useful beginning to mid-game, but yeah, they will fall off.
All right. Sen, do you think that the possibility of new characters makes it more worth spending resources, or just still judge it by what we have now? They're not as high up as Mr. Free to Play lists them.
I think if you're spending for the future, you're wasting your resources for now, because there's way too many things to work on right now that are beneficial. If you're able to save the resources, that's a different problem, different story there. So if you're just working on characters, you can't be building, well, 6 months down the line, they might bring this character in. You don't know. There's no way of telling. Unless you specifically know what's coming, you can't really build for the future in this game. So you have to work with what you have. So spending your resources for, hey, they're going to bring in this new character that's going to rework Ravagers. Hey, everybody wants Taserface. Well, we don't know if that's ever going to happen. I really want him in the game, but who the hell knows?
Fair enough. Don't bet your now for an uncertain future, I guess is what you're going for.
Yeah. I mean, if you know this character's coming out, we know Negasonic Teenage Warhead is coming out. We know X-23 is coming out because they're already technically in the game. We don't know exactly how long till we get them, but you can build the X-Force team now. You can, if you don't have Deadpool and Cable leveled up, you can start focusing on that team now. Right. But you couldn't do that 3 months ago or 4 months ago because you didn't know what their kid is going to look like. You didn't know if they were going to be any good or worth picking up at all. So it's hard to plan for future.
Fair enough. So this is the first one where there's a bit of, it's not a universal agreement here, but Mr. Free-to-Play has S.H.I.E.L.D. on the third most useful team to put resources in, and Senraven's kind of sitting on not quite on that end. I would probably be somewhere in between the two. I think they're a good choice, but they're a good choice to spend it if you're earlier on in the game, but they're not going to hold you as late. So I think that's a pretty interesting choice there, but let's see where we go from here. What is the third least amount of resources you should spend on a team? I worded that a little weird, but Mr. Free-to-Play, what do you have?
All right. I have at number 3, least you should spend your resources on is Marauders. One, they're not a complete team. Most of them don't really help you anything. Other than Mr. Sinister, as a solo character, great, good for Arena, but as a team, I can't justify it.
Ouch.
Did not see this coming.
Me neither. Ooh. Okay, I wouldn't put him at the top. I don't think I would even put him in top 5, but I certainly wouldn't put him in the bottom. Like you said, Mr. Sinister is a great character. If you have high red stars on him, he's incredibly powerful. I think he probably, as far as this game goes, has the biggest longevity in this game. No matter what comes out, no matter what character happens to be released, you can always make a clone of it. Until they release something where a character counters clones. Whatever. Like I said, you can't plan for the future. Right now, he has the best longevity in this game. With that, you have Sabretooth and Mystique with him, who are great either with him or with Magneto for Brotherhood. And then you have Strife. Okay, he's complete garbage. But you can get a fifth in there, or you can replace Strife. You can get a fifth in there that will do extra for them. Kingpin or Shuri or somebody else. And it makes... While it doesn't complete the team, I agree with you that, if you're just focusing on a completed team, then yes, they're not done. But I think they're completely worth the time. They're especially Sinister. At 50,000 power, like if you get into 50,000 or higher, he works really well. The more red stars, the better, because when he clones, you get those red stars for that clone character. So I can't agree with that.
Yeah, also considering they're like a pretty good war defense team. I get wins pretty consistently with them. My Mr. Sinister got 2 solo wins last war. He was standing alone. My Mr. Sinister in war is like 80k, and they tried like a 160k team with like an 80k Hulk, a massive Crossbones or something like that, and a Korath. And they're like, well, that didn't work. Let's do a 240k attack and use an Ultron to take my solo Mr. Sinister out. I did not see this coming. Yeah, Mr. Sinister is a great character. We all agree on that. Mystique and Sabretooth, they do fit on 2 different teams, so there's some versatility, and they do unlock. Magneto. You can be used for that Magneto unlock. Strife, depending on who you ask, a lot of people say he's trash. Some people have some good experience with him. I say he's a horrendous tank, but a pretty good controller at times, which is the weirdest thing to say about a tank. But I did not see the Marauders pick coming here, but interesting.
Controversial hot take from Mr. Free to Play.
Yeah, that's...
I can definitely see why, but I can't agree with that.
Fair enough. I mean, I got definitely caught off guard with this one. We got a couple of very very agreed upon picks, and a couple of very controversial picks, where there's two very different sides on this, which I guess is a really great thing for this series. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear some feedback on this in the comments about what people are thinking. Or Discord messages. People like to send me private messages to answer videos instead of comments half the time. So I'll definitely let you guys know what the people are saying, because I'm not sure. This is far more different than I was expecting. But let's carry on and see what we got next. Mr. Free to Play, what is the fourth best team to spend resources on?
All right, so my list is probably only going to get more controversial going forward.
Oh, yes.
But at number 4, most useful or most you should spend your resources on, to me, is Supernatural. And here's the reasons why. One, the Mystic campaign is a really big hurdle in this game. With Supernatural, it becomes so much more easier, allowing you to get Loki. And Ghost Rider is a great solo character. I see him used in the Gold Rush Challenge and being used in Dark Dimension 3.
All right. I have a very strong opinion on this one, but Sunraven, what do you think about this? The pick of Supernatural as fourth most valuable team to spend resources on.
Oh, that's really hard to place them. I mean, they're really good, and those reasons definitely make sense. I think they come close for me. I don't know if they reach number 4, but they definitely get up there. Yeah, I think they're more in that middle. Like you said, we have 23 teams, so we're looking at. I think they're somewhere in the top of that 13 in the middle for me, but I don't think they hit the top 5 for me.
Interesting. My honest reaction to this, going into this video when I proposed this topic, I was just doing a quick overview in my head of the teams that I would rank, and I think I came to the conclusion of Asgardians for number 1. The team I came up with number 2, just theoretical because I wasn't actually proposing a list here today, was Supernatural. I said they were the second best team to spend resources on in this game. They are so incredibly versatile. They're like the half counters to like every possible team in the game. Anytime a new team comes out, everyone's like, well, what do we use against this? The first answer anyone comes up with is always Supernatural. They do pretty good against Coulson. They can punch down pretty well against Hydra. They can do pretty good against Asgard. They do pretty good against Mercenaries. Like, if you don't know how to use them, you put them on defense, people struggle with them. They've got Mordo, who's used to like unlock a legendary. You got Ghost Rider here, who can do an absolute ton of damage. Plus is definitely used very often in DD3. I'm buying in on this one of using the Supernatural that high. So what do you guys think about that? I guess Sen, what do you think about the fact that you said you're not sure they make the top 5, and then I say I'd put them number 2? Did anything I say sway you or push you even further away?
No, I think you have good points on there. They are a good counter to a lot of stuff, but at the same time, you said they can punch down on this team or that team. Well, you're not looking for a punch down counter in war. You're looking for a punch up counter in war, because if you're doing punch down, that team is already you're wasting resources, and they're not the optimal counter. You do get a character that goes for legendary. That's true. They are a good team there. They can counter a lot of stuff. Ghost Rider is usable for DD3. I don't think he's as good as people think he is for DD3. especially because you're using him for City. So if you're going in with Carnage and Symbiote Spider-Man are the two that you really should be having for DD3 for that section. If you're using him for a third, his biggest benefit is when people die. So it doesn't work with the Symbiote Spider-Man and Carnage because those two keep themselves alive, do some damage, but for the most part, he's not going to get charges, and he's not that stuff. So I don't think he's actually the materials to bring in for the first run. Maybe for the second one, if you want a full 5. I mean, that being said, I'm working on them right now. My team is about 250K, and I'm putting gear into them right now to bring him higher. Mostly because I need a higher team from them for war. But I on mine. I don't think they hit hard enough for everything to be up there.
All right, Mr. Free to Play. Any last thoughts about Supernatural? Did any of these comments push you one way or another, or still sticking strong? They're right. They should be right in 4th. I think we're at. Yeah, 4th.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still sticking where it is for me. I get Sen Raven's point of view, and I can't argue against it. But for me right now, I think that's where they stay.
Fair enough.
Gonna have a different different result from how they're playing, and if they work for you guys for everything, that's fantastic. Level them up, go crazy with them. For me, they're not quite there just yet. Maybe once they hit like 350K or something, I'll change my mind on them. But for now, they're not in the top 5 for me.
Fair enough. Personally, I do think they're a team that you can use in a lot of different modes. I've seen them do pretty well in Ultima 7 even. I've seen some of these characters in Arena causing issues. One thing I do know for sure is I've gotten my butt kicked in PvP because of Ghost Rider. I way undervalued a Ghost Rider on the other team. I was like at 75k. I'm like, that'll be fine. I'll ban like a 68k Invisible Woman or something. That'll probably be more annoying to go with. And that Ghost Rider killed my entire team. So
yeah, his retaliation damage is really nasty.
His bleeds can be pretty deadly too. That was the one that caught me off guard. Like, I lost 2 characters just from his opening attack and like one other person's attack. I was like, okay, did not see that coming. So they're a sleeper pick, but I respect this pick. I definitely respect this pick. But apparently there's a bit of a disagreement here, so we're carrying on with the controversy here, which is very exciting. Mr. Free to Play, who would you say the 4th worst team to spend resources on in this game is?
All right, well, I'm expecting a lot of pushback on this one. All right, so number 4 for me was just simply their utility team, but outside that, I can't really name their utility, and that is power armor.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to argue that.
All right.
I don't know if they're that bad to be bottom 4th, but yeah, outside of war, I mean, they're okay for Blitz, but you can make everything okay for Blitz. Other than Falcon, you can use Falcon for the rest of them don't really get a lot of use.
Yeah, that's again, I don't think I was expecting to hear it, but when you said it and then I started thinking about it, I guess it's a fair point, which is a very interesting time to bring it up considering there's like all the blitzes right now for Ironheart. But yeah, really the only one you do use outside of War Offense and Blitz, because you use everyone in Blitz, is Falcon. And that's not even everyone uses him. I wouldn't say he's the best for anything in particular. I've been seeing him pop up on War Defense a little bit more as a kind of like a half Black Order type counter, because the timing of his abilities is pretty good. But this is an interesting pick, and I don't think there's as much pushback as I initially thought there would be when you said the name. What do you think about this, Mr. Free to Play? Do you what do you think?
Pushback.
No, I mean they counter. You know, they got two teams that they'll counter in arena. I'm sorry, in war. And with Ironheart, they're supposed to be a good counter for Hydra. Without her, they work really great for countering BKT. If anybody's still using BKT on defense, or Guardians, they actually work fine against Guardians. But outside of that, you know, for Blitz, they're tier 8 so the time they win. But even against defenders in Blitz, if you miss, you know, one of your shots, they struggle. They can't catch up. I had 2 fights with them today when I did a Blitz rotation earlier, and I landed the ability block on Cage, which usually gets me the win, and then all of a sudden they turned around and like 4 of them targeted War Machine and killed him. And at that point, nothing can be done. That team. So, yeah, I can't really argue with this placement.
All right. Well, that is another shocking pick, but some surprisingly less resistance than some of the other picks so far. This is definitely a bit more shocking than I was expecting. So, Mr. Free to Play, what is the fifth best team to spend those resources on, according to you, to finish off your top 5 list?
The last spot that I have, I basically had to put this team here because I do find huge value in them for one specific reason, even though you could argue that they're not that great of a team, and that is Wakandans, and that's mainly for the Chaos Theory event. Getting those promotion credits is probably the most valuable thing in the game currently, at least in my opinion, and that's the reason why I had to put them on this list.
And Sunraven, I know roughly what you're thinking about this. After all, this came up
that's a tough one. They're not a good team. Like as far as the team goes, they're not a good team. As far as the characters go, they have better uses in different groups. In Killmonger's with the Mercenaries, Black Panther can go with the Hero Brawlers. Shuri can go with a couple of different teams, including Marauders. So you got use out of them there. Okoye and M'Baku, just I don't have any use for those characters right now. Yes, that event is really useful. I wish it had more rewards, but that's a completely different problem. I don't think I would place them top 5, even with the event, because they don't have a lot of use as their own team anywhere else, other than maybe throwing them up on a war defense team. I think there's better resources. I think you need them, but I don't think you need them as high as people think, and I don't think they need to be a top 5 team.
Well, there is one thing. You mentioned using Shuri on the Marauders, and earlier you mentioned replacing Strife. There's a team I ran into 2 wars ago, which really caught me off guard at how difficult this thing was to take down. A Marauder Wakandan hybrid, where you basically use Shuri as the 5th Marauder, and you replace Strife with M'Baku. A big M'Baku on that team, that thing is... they don't die. That team was really, really hard to take down.
I'll have to give that a try.
So if you have a large M'Baku and you're not crazy like me keeping your Wakandans together as the biggest team you have, it might be something to look into for you all.
No, I'll give it a go. That sounds like a good option.
Yeah. So I guess this one was a touch more on the controversial end, I guess. Not as heated as some of the earlier ones. Mr. Free to Play, any last thoughts on the Wakandans?
No, I mean, Sunraven's point of view is completely fair.
All right, so what do you have, Mr. Free to Play, to finish off this list as the 5th, worst team to spend resources on?
All right, so this one is an either or, okay? It's not clear one way or the other. If you're going to spend resources on this one team, you don't want to do the other team. And that is X-Men and Brotherhood. If you're going to spend in X-Men, don't spend in Brotherhood. If you're going to spend in Brotherhood, don't do X-Men. Phoenix doesn't need the X-Men to be great. Magneto doesn't need Brotherhood to be great. So building one team over the other to unlock Magneto is all you really need to do.
Yikes. Huh. Yeah, I don't think either one belongs in the bottom. I think X-Men as a whole team, if you're doing the whole team, they're solid team, especially for offense. Well, let's say war offense, it's a solid team, and you have options of whether you're bringing Cyclops or Storm or Psylocke. Psylocke can go with hero brawlers, so there's flexibility there. Storm can go somewhere else as well. She can actually go with Wakandans. Sorry, not with Wakandans, with Marauders. I had some good use with that team. With her, I think they're definitely worth leveling, especially because they're one of the main counter teams in Arena in War. They can counter almost everything. The only problem I've had with them was running into Hydra. Actually, maybe Mercenaries, but I actually don't remember about Mercenaries. I don't think I fought Mercenaries with an X-Men team. I have had problems with Hydra for them, but for the most part, they kill everything. And Brotherhood on its own, Brotherhood 1.0, their original team, kind of falls apart because you want Sabretooth and Mystique with the Marauders, but with Blob and Toad on the team, they become your other counter team for Coulson, Shield, and Coulson, and you don't have to worry about using X-Men for that, so you can free up X-Men to go against Asgardians or something else. Also, if you're not leveling them up together for the whole team, yes, you can plug and play Phoenix in somewhere, you can plug and play Magneto somewhere, but you're missing the combos that they need to make them even better. Magneto is better with Juggernaut with him. Phoenix is better with Colossus with her. And if you have a high-end Cyclops, he's incredible amount of damage. Just completely crazy. Kill everybody with his ultimate. You know, once Phoenix dies and goes Dark Phoenix, his ultimate is just devastating. So I don't agree with that. I think there's teams that are definitely worse to put resources in. These guys are actually much closer to top of my list. Like Brotherhood isn't. Brotherhood for me personally is, you know, maybe like number 10, number 9, but X-Men is one of my top 5 teams.
Yeah, you're definitely sticking with some controversy again, Mr. Free to Play. For me, when you first said it, I'm like, whoa. X-Men and Brotherhood, those are both great teams. But then hearing Sen Raven's argument, it was very much like focusing on, these are really good teams that you can definitely use. But I think I'm kind of seeing what you're saying here, that it's a lot of resources to build up both of these teams. I don't think you're trying to argue that these aren't top teams in the game, just that if you don't have a lot of resources, perhaps you could save on one of these teams in order to be able to better focus on the full other team to really capitalize on that. So like you use it, you build up your X-Men fully so that you can take advantage of that. And then you don't really need to build up your Brotherhood, because then you have the Phoenix Colossus combo and you can really focus on that end. So if you're going from that, I can kind of understand it. The one thing I've got here is I think there's bound to be teams that have less value to build up. Like, off the top of my head, there's Hand. Hand is an interesting one. We got Kree. I don't know. But it's a very interesting thought. I will definitely give you credit for that. Like, even if not all of these picks I would agree with 100%, they're all interesting. They definitely made me think, which is a huge part of this. Any final thoughts on your Brotherhood or X-Men pick here, Mr. Free to Play?
Just to say that, I'm not disagreeing that they are both great teams in their own right, but Paul, you kind of hit on the head. It's like, in a resource management type deal, it's like, okay, both mutants, gotta choose one or the other. To level them both up is going to cost a lot. And as far as advancing in the game, if you haven't got to the end of the game yet, both teams are not needed. to advance. Put it that way.
Okay, that I'll agree with. You don't need both of them to advance, but overall, they're much better teams than others. So if you're just looking at, I guess it depends on where you are in the game. If you're just progressing, yeah, you got to pick which ones you're going to work on. But they both have their uses because you'll get the mutants or the for the raids and a couple of other things, and of course for arena, depending where you are, either Magneto with somebody is meta for your arena, or Phoenix is on every single team for defense or even for offense. And then for war, both of those are really good counter teams for defenses.
Definitely a few interesting picks here, which are definitely going to get some conversation going, which is awesome. I think the more conversation you have, the more planning you make, the better people really understand this game, the better people can, succeed. And I think that's a huge part of what we do here. So I think that's definitely a very out-of-the-box couple of picks here, which is awesome. Mr. Free to Play, do you have any other teams that you think were close to making the list just off the top of your head, that like honorable mentions on either side?
I mean, we got 13 other teams. If you want, we can go through real quickly. I can say high or low. Raven can say high or low.
We could do that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, we could do that. Sure. So let's see. Do you have a list?
I have them right here. I can just say them.
Perfect.
Yep. So I'm going alphabetical order here. So first up, AIM, I do rate high.
All right.
They're definitely in the middle for me. They're some people will tell you they're a great starter team. They're not, but they are a good team and they're a lot better than what they were. So I wouldn't put them low, but I also wouldn't bring them super high up right away.
I definitely know who the some people you are.
Oh yeah. Let's
but
being nice.
Great dude, and brings up interesting points. I will say definitely not a team that I would go for right out of the gate. Personally, a few months ago, I would have probably said, okay, this is a higher team. This is right now. They would have been in the contention for my bottom. I don't think you need any one of these characters anymore. I think you have better options for every single one of them.
No, I still use Scientist Supreme on a daily basis. So for me, she's solid.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Scientist Supreme, I believe her entire life goal is just to mess up everything I'm doing at any given moment. If I'm using like Aimtron in war, she will give defense down and slow to my Ultron and get him killed twice before he takes a turn. If I'm using her on a DD1 speedrun, she will defense down literally everyone and get us all killed, or she'll just die right out of the gate. In Ultimate 7, she gets herself killed. And I have like a tier 13 one. The RNG is absolutely infuriating for me, so I've replaced her entirely with Symbiote Spider-Man in anything that she's ever done, basically, other than I still use Aimtron and just complain about it. But to me, I find that there's other options. But they're definitely a good team, and you can use them for a lot of things. So there's really high moments and really low moments with them. So I can see both ends of the spectrum. But all right, so Mr. Free to Play, you got them as high. Sunraven, as you said, middle of the pack.
Yeah, they would probably, out of 23, they would probably be like 13, from like right in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, they're definitely a team where you'll probably see someone rank them number 1 and someone rank them 23. They can be great, they can be horrible, and I think it's more fair to put them somewhere in the middle. But yeah, they're not a bad choice. Even with my dislike of the team and the frustrating RNG, they're not a bad choice. What do we have next there, Mr. Free to Play?
Next up is Black Order. I have them currently unranked because the jury's still out for me, but Ebony Maw is definitely looking to be a great character.
All right, Sunraven, what do you got here?
For me, they're top 3.
Yeah.
We were expecting a top-of-the-line defense team. We didn't get that. What we did get was a monster offense team.
Yeah.
They're completely demolishing everything for me between War, Blitz. I'm using them a little bit on Raid, not as much as I would like to, but I still need to do some upgrades for that. I'm using them primarily as an arena offense team, and except for doing a mirror match, I haven't switched them out for anything in a week now, and they just destroy everything on offense.
Yeah, I would personally, with my experience with the team, mine's like 290 or something like that. I would agree putting them really high. They're actually one of the reasons I would have put X-Men lower on the list is because if you're using X-Men, you kind of get them for the big war offense, you get them for the big arena offense. Yeah, you can get them on defense in some sort. There's like a couple other things there. But I do find Black Order to be just X-Men toned up like 100%. They do war offense better. There's like they counter everything on war offense. Like everything, which is insane. They're the best arena offense team. Some people
at really high punch ups too. Like you can take them like Mercenaries is mostly like throwaway characters, right? You can say that they're a mediocre team. On war defense, Mercenaries are a solid defense team. This team, and yes, Black Order should always be able to destroy a Mercenaries team. There's no question on that. They're punching up 170,000 in war to take out mercenary teams. Not like, I'm just going to throw them in and it's 100K, 100K or something. 170 is a massive punch up.
Yeah. Then you do have people are using them in Ultima 7 and getting through multiple nodes with them, which is something you can't do with the X-Men. If you're using X-Men for multiple nodes, you're spending those power cores to revive your Phoenix. You don't necessarily need that with Black Order. You might. Ebony Maw has use for tons of things. Thanos, he is if you don't have any of the other Black Order characters, Thanos is huge up until Ultima 7 on his own. And then he's even used for like some late game fun things like DD1 speedruns, perhaps some DD2 speedruns. Like there's some good use for Thanos on his own. And then I learned a hard lesson the other day. If you have a big enough Thanos in PvP and you just put him with only Corvus Glaive, that ultimate can still wreck you with that offense up. Like the Corvus Glaive Proxima work well together. You've got a few different combinations of characters that you get out of this. Yeah, I think they're definitely worth it. I know Mr. Free to Play completely abstained from this team, but I'm with Sen Raven on them being pretty high up here. Since you didn't vote for anything, after hearing what we have to say, Mr. Free to Play, do you have any thoughts on Black Order now?
It sounds like they're a really great team, and I can't wait to use them.
Fair enough. So who do we have next?
Next up on the list is Defenders. I have them rated like middle of the pack.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. They're still useful for a lot of stuff. They're not worth how they were maybe 6 months, 9 months ago, but they'll still get stuff done, just not as well. And there's better options.
I use them for literally nothing, and I will do everything in my power to find other options than using Defenders. Personally, I have found even on like the city nodes and like the city challenges and the city campaign parts of it, that you can find other teams to beat that content at lower power. Like the hero brawlers with the right characters can do what the Defenders can. So to me, I put them a little lower, but at the beginning of the game, easy to get. So I can settle for middle of the pack despite their huge boringness. I don't think boring is a fair reason to rate them so low, so I'll abstain from that one.
There's teams that are fun to use, and you put work into them because they're more fun to use.
Yeah. Defenders are not that. What do we have next here, Mr. Free to Play?
Next up is Fantastic Four, another one I have rated in the middle.
Interesting.
See, I would rank them higher. They can definitely dish out a lot of damage, and again, they're a decent counter for us Guardians. They can take out a couple of other teams. Invisible Woman is really good for. I had her for Ultimate 7 for quite a while, so she was good there. She's still one of my go-tos for arena offense, especially for a Black Order counter team. She's really good for that. And I think I would have to move. I don't know if I would put them in top 5, maybe as number 5, but they're definitely up there for me.
Yeah, completely fair enough. Gut instinct was that Mr. Free to Play would have ranked them closer to where he would have ranked Brotherhood and X-Men or Power Armor, because they kind of have that type of, well, I guess closer to Power Armor because they are mostly a war offense team, but they do have a few other uses, so I can see them having a bit more value overall, especially Invisible Woman. She's got a lot of value. And then you have the Thing, who you can throw on a hero brawlers team if you don't have other ones. So yeah, I can definitely respect them being kind of middle of the pack. What do you have next there, Mr. Free to Play, unless you have other thoughts on this?
Oh, no more thoughts. Next up is Guardians. Just because of the plug and play of these characters, I rate them a little bit on the high side, but closer to the middle.
All right, Sen?
Yeah, I think early on, I mean, they're a great boost to your account. If you're starting out, you can go straight for them. But afterwards, they do fall off. The damage doesn't hold up. Rocket is great, but now his damage isn't holding up. And Star-Lord is great for other things, Dark Dimension 2, a little bit in Ultima 7. If you have him for Ultima 6, you can clear basically everything. But yeah, I think middle of the pack is fairly right on with them.
Yeah, I say you have 3 that you bring up to tier 13, and then you really don't need to build up past that, and that's mainly for like Dark Dimension 2, and that would be Rocket, Star-Lord, Groot. Drax, you really don't need to build up anymore. You use him to get, well, Star-Lord. And then you got Gamora, who's not as great anymore. Hero Brawlers, you got some value there. Mantis,
honestly,
pretty decent.
Unless you have like a 7 Red Star Rocket, like these days, I wouldn't even bring him up for DD2.
That's fair.
Like Star-Lord, yes. Rocket and Groot, I probably wouldn't bother.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, also they are parts of BKT, which is unfortunately a dying team. That was my baby for a long time, but they're not there anymore. Very very rarely used, which is a great Ultima 6 team. But then you get to Ultima 7, they're not so great anymore. So yeah, Star-Lord holds his value very well. He's a great legendary character. Rocket eventually hits the cap where his damage just isn't enough, which I don't think anyone was really expecting to see, but that's where we are. And Mantis, I guess, for the Greek raids. But yeah, that's fair. I'd say they're high value for beginning, pretty decent value for middle, and then unfortunately they just hit a wall and then they fall off pretty sharp. But that is the Guardians. Who do we have next here, Mr. Free to Play?
All right, next team up is Han. I do have them rated low, but because of the Relicon event, I can't rate them, useless.
What do you got? What do you think, Sen?
Yeah, I think they're probably like number 5 from the bottom for me because of the event, because they're not useful for anything else.
Yeah.
Hopefully, at some point they get a rework like AIM got a rework, but for now they're just I have them at like tier 6 for their event. I didn't even bother tearing them up to 7 for the event, so at some point I will. But there's other things to work on, and lots of it.
Yeah. See, my Nobu and Elektra are tier 9. I don't have a single character that's even 6664 on like max purple abilities out of these guys. And honestly, most of the resources I spent in them, I really wish I didn't, because that was getting my Hand Assassin to 7 stars, which we all wish we had hell out at the time when the Phoenix event came, but that wasn't an option. So the biggest use for them, to me, the Relic event, which it's not my favorite of the events, but it's important, is the Phoenix unlock with Nobu and Hand Assassin. Hand Sentry is not a horrendous character, but man, if it wasn't for that event, this team would be getting a lot of love for the number 1 and number 2 most useless teams. Not a great team, if you ask me at least. Mr. Free to Play, what do we have next? I know you got the list there.
Next up is Hydra. I do have them rated low.
All right. Sen, what do you think?
I would probably put him at like number 9 or something, because you're not going to use them for a lot of stuff, but oh my god, they're so disgusting as a war defense team. I absolutely hate them.
Right. Hydra. Hydra's a very interesting thing for me because, yeah, they're an amazing war defense team. I've seen people do some raids with them pretty well, but I haven't really tried them in any raids, and I don't think they're going to do anything in the raids I'm at, so I can't really experience that. But I would say that they are very valuable to get to 120k because I think that can save you a lot of resources on other teams because of the fact that you can 3-star villains 7-1 through 7-3 with a 120k Hydra team. Other than that, you don't really need them for anything. So, yeah, they have. I put that mid because they do have the couple of things here and there, but overall, not a lot. And so yeah, that's Hydra. They're kind of middle of the pack, I suppose. Mr. Free to Play, who do we have next?
Next up is Kree. This one's a tough one because the minions are useless, but they get you Nick Fury. But also in Kree, you get Karath, Ronan, and Captain Marvel. So I rate them middle of the pack.
Yeah, when you say Kree team, I don't think Korath, Ronan. Well, I think Ronan, but I don't think Captain Marvel because she's not on the Kree team for me. She's on the Hero Brawlers. But yeah, they're definitely middle.
Yeah. To me, you could make it by with only building 2 of these characters. To me, you get the Fury, so I guess you technically need to build the other characters. Korath is not a bad character, and you can toss him on the Merc team even, and a couple of villain tech type teams. Ultimus has some use, I guess, after you beat Dark Dimension 3 twice and he gets the red stars. But Captain Marvel and Minerva are just so good. So, yeah, I don't really think you need much on Kree, but build Captain Marvel and Minerva 100%. I don't think anyone in the game would argue about building either of those 2 characters.
Later on, like higher end, Captain Marvel definitely falls off. I don't use her as much as I used to, but until then, she's such a powerhouse, and if you have a pretty high level one on war defense, she's a nightmare.
She can literally be a solo team, which I think is especially in the sake of saving resources. If you want a good war defense team, well, build a Captain Marvel, and that's got you set for quite a while, which is kind of ridiculous, but I think it does give value. So what do we have next, Mr. Free to Play, unless you have any further comments?
Nope, no further comments. Next up, this team definitely went up in value recently, and that is the Mercenaries. I have them ranked at the middle, though.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one.
Yeah, pretty middle. Must not be very exciting. No, we could not even come up with anything to say. Taskmaster.
No, they got a decent rework. It wasn't as good as I expected, but they got a decent rework. And Taskmaster's, on war defense, they're a solid team. They're super quick.
Yeah, Taskmaster was a character I wanted in the game for a very long time, so I'm excited he's here. But I've chosen to build other characters over him for the time being. I don't know. To me, they're not a lot of fun to use. They're a war defense team that's really good, but yeah, I'd say middle. Definitely on that. Not a super passionate answer from me, that's for sure. Who do we got next here, unless you, again, have any further comments?
Next up is a team that I rated low, and if it wasn't for legendary unlocks, they probably would have been in my bottom 5, and that is Sinister Six.
Fair enough.
See, that one I don't know. At high end, they're really powerful. Like if you get them to 350 or higher, they're really powerful. At low end, they don't do a lot other than being accounted for defenders. But for a new account, they're a really good choice for your second or third team, because a lot of people still go for defenders as their first team, so this gives you a great counter for arena and war as well, because you'll run into defender teams, and they get you 2 legendary unlocks, so it does bring them up. And like I said, if you're running into like a 350k or higher, they do some serious work. They're really annoying.
Yeah, I think the double unlock raises their value a lot. Without that, I don't think there's really much for this team. Vulture is actually, you can bounce Vulture around a bit. Green Goblin, he's pretty good actually. I'd say Green Goblin's a pretty good character. And I actually used, up until yesterday, I used him as my 5th symbiote Spider-Verse character instead of like Peter Parker Spider-Man. Rhino, I guess you can counter Brotherhood with him to a degree. So yeah, there's a bit of up and a bit of down with them. Up to a certain point, they're not really a good team, but apparently when you get them really big, they can be pretty powerful. I've struggled with them from time to time, and then I've also found them really easy. They're a hard one for me too, but I'd say middle, personally. Mr. Free to Play, any other comments, or what do we have next? Completely up to you.
It's going back to Sin Raven's point. I have never experienced them as high as he has, so he probably is right. But for where I'm in the game, I have not seen any value from them.
And that's where they come in, because a lot of people don't.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, I'm just gonna leave them because they're not that great. But if you actually put them in and drop a bunch of power on them, they become really a big powerhouse.
Fair enough.
All right. So next up, and this one's a mixed bag, it is Spider-Verse. Now, I'm not including Sinister Six in the Spider-Verse. I rate the symbiote part of this team high, Peter and Miles low.
Oh, completely agree. The symbiotes are amazing. The rest, not so much.
Yeah, symbiotes I would have probably put in my top 5 easily. I mean, symbiote Spider-Man is, on his own, is huge. And then you add Carnage to that, and that's really good. And Venom, on his own, but you put him with those other two, and he becomes really good. The only thing I'd say is Miles. I'll give Miles a medium. Miles, he's okay. Spider-Man, oh man, poor Spidey. He's fallen so far for such a beloved character.
I hope they fix him. He's my favorite.
I love Spidey. Spidey's amazing, but he's still fun to build, and he can be fun to use, but he really needs more. Like, I don't know. Give him like the healing that the symbiotes have, or some extra turn meter type thing, and that could be pretty good. But he's literally just symbiote Spider-Man. It's like symbiote Spider-Man is Spider-Man empowered, like with Thanos. But yeah, I don't know. It's really heartbreaking. It's hard for me to say don't build your Spider-Man because I just love the character so much. But I will say Miles isn't too bad. Miles you can find some uses for. And again, both Spider-Man you can throw in the hero brawlers. So I'll give them medium low, and then the symbiotes super crazy high because those dudes are amazing. Any other comments, or what's next, Mr. Free to Play?
All right, we're going to end this one with the very last team. It's the newest shiny toy, and that is X-Force. Obviously, I have no playtime with them, so my initial thoughts are this looks like a really great team. It's looking middle of the pack until I see more footage on them.
Yeah, they're shaping up to be a really good war offense team, but other than that, right now, at least, I don't think they're going to be much use anywhere else. There's a lot of content creators that are doing a lot of work with them, like Ramen and a few others. So we'll have a lot of footage for them, and we'll see how they work. But it's still going to be a little while before they're ready to go. Well,
knowing Remen's building that, I'm very excited to see that. Personally, yeah. My initial instinct is they look to me like they're going to be the third best war offense team without a whole lot of use elsewhere. So I put them kind of medium. But there is a character that I just heard something about a bug with Cable's kit that's making him more powerful than he should be, but I don't know enough about that to speak on it. But there's another character that I kind of just been talking with some people about that has quite a few extra uses, and that's X-23. When I went over her kit initially, there was a lot on her kit, so I wasn't reading it that carefully when I was saying everything out loud, and there was one line that kind of snuck by a little. But if you think about it, it can definitely apply some value to a team that really only has 4 members that you need right now. And that line in the passive here is when an enemy drops below 50% health, fill speed bar by, what on earth is it when it maxed? It's like 40% speed bar when maxed.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. I don't know yet if it. Well, I mean, the character's not live yet, so hopefully it works when she goes live. Because Thanos has something similar, and it's not working correctly.
Oh, and they fixed it, and it's still not working correctly on Thanos.
Oh, did they fix it? I haven't heard if they fixed it.
Yeah, they fixed it with. That was one of their big announcements for this last patch. Was we fixed his passive, and it's like, well, it works at least 20% more often, so that's sort of fixing, but
still not every single time.
And if multiple go below, they definitely don't stack, which is really frustrating.
That actually I expected, because it's the same as Thor's passive. When multiple get hit at the same time, he only gets 1 charge.
Yeah,
so I wasn't expecting that to work, but yeah.
I was hoping it would work like Crystal's, because Crystal does like heal all of them when they drop below. So I don't know. It was frustrating on me on that end. But
yeah.
Either way, that line, assuming it's functioning, 40% speed bar whenever someone drops below 50% health, that and her ultimate, the attack lowest health, most injured non-summon target for however much damage, flip stealth, ignore taunt, ignore stealth. You put this as the 5th person on that symbiote team, and you will destroy Asgardians. Like, absolutely destroy them. And you can run some really good raid numbers, I think. So, I think there's some value in X-23 off of X-Force, so I think that kind of raises it a bit. But that's kind of just my instinct and a bit of talking about the couple of lines there that are maybe not as talked about. But yeah, so that was the last team, Mr. Free-to-Play, you said?
Yes, that was.
Do you have any last comments on this team?
Oh, nope. I'm right with you guys.
Right with me? Right with us? So this was mostly Mr. Free-to-Play's list. So, Senraven, is there any other teams that you feel like they need a bit extra talking about, like, that are definitely... I know we went over every team here, but, like, the top end that just kind of were brushed over, like, the honorable mentions that you really would like to give a shout-out to type idea?
No, not really. We covered everything pretty thoroughly on it. I mean, my top 5 since I didn't make a list because I figured we'd be, like we did, we went over them. My 5 basically come down to Inhumans, X-Men, Black Order, Asgardians, and then a 5th for me varies. Depending on who's getting wins from you or not. So those are my top 4, but the 5th always varies a little bit. And sometimes Fantastic Four come up to top 5 for me, sometimes not. I'm hoping Power Armor gets up there with the Ironheart being included. We'll see how that works out. X-Force might be that top 5 team. Who knows? We'll see how they work out. But yeah, that's pretty much for me.
One thing I will definitely notice and point out to everyone, almost every team that Senraven just said were all like arena-based teams other than Asgard, who is used for everything. Like the main purpose of most of those is like arena type things.
Oh, well, even on Asgard, I mean, Hela is a great option to put in. Loki, if you're running Loki with Captain Marvel, is a good combo. Yep. You can even throw Coulson in there for some really explosive fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got uses in pretty much everything.
Right. Yeah, Asgard, I think, is just a freak team that just happened. I don't think they were planning, like, we're just going to make this team be amazing at everything. But I think they were legitimately, it was like, all right, we really want this to be a good war defense team. And then it just so coincidentally happened that they were amazing at everything. Beyond that, I'd say you have teams that you kind of build up a lot of resources for, like, that you're going into this because you want a big X-Men for that war offense and that arena. You want that Black Order for this and that, like those same type ideas. While Mr. Free-to-Play, most of his teams are like, how do I use as few resources as possible? Like, what do I absolutely need? And I think that's quite clearly based on the actual division that this series was kind of visualized from. The fact that Mr. Free-to-Play, your channel is entirely about being free to... Not entirely, but a lot of what you do, a lot of your advice comes from the point of being free to play, so it is being as efficient with resources as possible. Well, that's not exactly what you do, Sunraven, is it?
No.
So I think it's very interesting that there is a clear divide on this. I didn't think it was going to be that drastic, but I was very interested by this, and I learned a lot. Here's a quick question for you guys. What team do you think your mind was changed the most on? So, Mr. Free to Play, is there a single team today that we talked about that you have the biggest difference in opinion from when you started this video?
Said Raven's point of view on Sinister Six definitely has me curious now, as I still need to build them up to 7 stars to get the 7-star on Shuri and Invisible Woman. So I'm doing a lot of thinking on that one.
All right. Sunraven, is there any team in particular that you were most swayed on today?
I think where they're getting placed, I pretty agree on, except for a couple that were just at the bottom of the list. No, I think I'm good.
You think you're good? Well, all right. I've definitely rethought every team like 300 times during this video. This one a lot longer than I was expecting, but I probably should have seen that coming, honestly. So think
2 parts.
2 parts. Perhaps I can make this a 2-parter. Editing might be a while. Anyways, thank you guys both for doing this. It was really awesome, and I think this is a very interesting video. Like one of the, I think this is my favorite one we've done so far, even. But yeah, so Mr. Free to Play, where do we find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at Mr. Free to Play.
And
MSF.
Yep, I believe we have a couple. You have a couple of things that are new with your channel. That would you like to make any announcements about anything new on your channel?
I recently surpassed 2,000 subs, so that was a milestone to see. Yeah.
And did you just do a video with a webcam, perhaps?
Oh yeah, I started doing videos with webcam. I was waiting for my green screen to show up, but it may be here by the end of the month. Who knows?
Right. So guys, go check out Mr. Free to Play's channel. Now up to 2,000 subs on YouTube and with a webcam. Green screen coming soon. Heard it here probably second. Sunraven, where do we find you?
You can find me every morning at twitch.tv/SenRaven and on YouTube at tinyearl.com/SenRaven, because I have 22 subscribers, so I don't get my own domain name.
Do you have any updates on channel or stream or anything like that?
There's a couple. I mean, I just uploaded our video from last week. I only put it up like a day and a half ago, so that's up there. And but I haven't had anything to throw up there lately. I might be open. We're gonna be doing openings for Domino today, so I might clip that and put that up as a video as well.
All right. So get some milestones for Sunraven on YouTube, guys, and go check him out on Twitch. Thank you guys both a ton for coming. Any last things you want to say?
Just, be careful with what you're spending resources on. Sooner or later, something's going to be bigger, and you're gonna definitely have a few teams you're going to regret spending materials into.
Fair enough, Mr. Free to Play.
I agree with Sunraven. This was fun, guys.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys an absolute ton for doing this once again. Everyone, make sure you go subscribe and you follow and you do all those things and you check out their videos and their streams. Thanks a lot, guys, once again.
All right. Have a good one.
See you guys.